Welcome back. Well, Jasper Azuatalam joins us next. He is the chairman of Buhari Vanguard and a member of the Buhari Advisory Board. Thank you for coming on this morning.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Well, yes, we know it's going to be a big fight between those candidates who want to get the presidential ticket for the APC. But I know you're optimistic that your principal will get this. But how is he going to go about that, fending off the former vice president, and then the Kano state governor, all of those chaps who all want this out? So what's the thinking within your camp about that?
First of all, let me correct this impression that I do hear this outside, but it is not anything near the truth. There is not going to be any fight, and there is no fight anyway.
So they will just go to the primaries.
Whether it's going to be a primary or whether it's going to be a consensus, the fight that I see is on the pages of newspaper and sometimes from the supporters of these principles. But I can tell you, I've always been around Atiku, I've always been around Kwkwanso, I've always been around the General Buhari, and this time recently we have all been together, and I've not seen anything that is going to cause a fight. In fact, all of them has one goal, and the goal all of them has is that we're going to rescue Nigeria. And for all of them, that is it. So all these things you sometimes read in the pages of newspaper is that most of the supporters who are so excited, who really want their candidates, they can go and say one or two things, and like some even happened. One of our state chapters issued a press statement and they wrote the letter to Atiku asking him to step down. And I called them, I said, why did you do that? You didn't ask for my permission. I wouldn't issue that press statement. Not even a press statement, the letter to Atiku asking him to step down. And the words they use is that you must step down for General Buhari. And I can't say that. And I know General Buhari cannot say that. So most of these things you see on the newspapers, they do not exist. These people are close together and they are working together. They have one goal, and their goal is to rescue Nigeria.
So if there's not going to be any fight, why doesn't he just step down and let the other people go?
Okay.
After all, he said he won't contest before.
Okay, let me take that first. You know, a lot of people have raised this question. General Buhari said he will not contest the election after the 2011 general election. And he actually said that. And I can confirm to you that he meant that. But the time, immediately he said that, I was one of those that I went to him on several occasions. I was in Kaduna. And I asked him, I said, General, I know you mean your words when you say it. But all this while you've been contesting for the presidency, have you been doing it in your own interest? Have you been doing it for your own purpose? If it is for your own purpose, then let your word stand. But if you are doing this because you want to help Nigerians, you want a good future for our generation, then you have to change your mind because it is in our interest and not in your own. I did that. A lot of people did that. A lot of groups did that. We all went to him. And at the point he was saying, let me see how I consider it. Let's see how I consider it. But we keep saying, if you don't do this, then you're telling me you've been doing this in your own interest. But from all I know, from all indication, I've seen that you've been doing this fight irrespective of your position and whatever you've gotten. You don't need anything again. I know that. Buhari is not a materialistic person. Buhari is not a money person. He doesn't believe in luxury. So what else does he want? The only reason you are doing this, I believe, is because of us. And if you had said you're not going to contest, I believe now we still want you to do this thing because there's still time, you are still healthy, you are still strong, and we believe you're one of the best that can do this.
You think that is not blackmail from you and others? You've gone ahead to blackmail him into all of this. He's in the process, he's done it before, and he just realized that once, twice, and even thrice.
Okay.
There was no need, but you had to go make him come back again when he knew that there was no use for it.
He doesn't know there is no use for it. In fact, he knows there is use for it now. Let me explain. General Buhari has run for the presidency for 3 times. And I'm sure you have the records more than I do. You would agree with me that all those times that General Buhari has run, he had almost run like an independent candidate, even with a political party that is like 6 months, 4 months old. And when he ran with the political party that have been registered for some time, those political parties were regional parties. They were existing in a particular region. And now, that was why we said after 2011, when the alliance we wanted to have with ACM failed, we said we're not going to continue like this. We won't have somebody running on his popularity alone. we need a political structure that have a national spread. We looked at the ACN, we looked at the ANPP, we looked at the CPC and some faction of ABGA. And we started working. Yeah, some people started talking about the merger before 2011, but I'm only aware, and I started talking about it after 2011. Started encouraging our leaders, and they all came together. And this time around, a lot of people are saying, what has changed? If General Buhari emerges president, why will he win the presidential candidate of APC? Why will he win now? There are two reasons why he will win now. One, we have an opposition for the first time in Nigeria with a national spread, even more than the ruling People's Democratic Party. And if General Buhari will contest under APC with this political structure, there is no doubt that he's going to overwhelmingly win.
That's assuming that all the other groups pull together.
Sure.
Because if this primary is, depending on the way it goes, if it doesn't favor some, if it's not properly handled, it could send people back to their shell.
Let me tell you, that is not going to happen. You know, when APC came up, a lot of people said, APC, we are giving you 4 months. After 4 months, you will not exist. After that one, they said we will not survive the convention. After the convention, they keep looking for something that we will not survive. I can tell you authoritatively, mark my words, whether we had a consensus or a primary come December 2nd, there is nobody among these presidential candidates that will leave the party. They will all remain. And
I have a question for you from Wahab Kundayo. He wants us to ask you who among the aspirants is the most prepared for the presidency.
who among the
aspirants in the APC?
I think, to be fair, all of them are prepared. Atiku, I know, look at his records as a former vice president who has contested the presidency for many times. Even when he contested and he did not win, he was prepared. And if you look at Kwkwanso, who, if you look at his track record as a governor, you have no doubt that he can perform as a president. And if you look at General Buhari too, for these times that he has contested, and look at his pedigree, the offices he has held in Nigeria, and how he has performed, you have no doubt that he's prepared. But I think what we need most that has made General Buhari unique, in fairness to all the candidates, I have actually seen what the problem is in Nigeria. Our system has gone so down and so bad. There's so much indiscipline in the country. They call it corruption. But I think it is this indiscipline that has bred this high level of corruption. And I look at the president, with due respect to President Goodluck Jonathan, people think he's too bad. But I'm not among those that think he's too bad. As much as he's not shown high level of competency, I'm not among those that thinks he's too bad. I think he entered into a system and he got overwhelmed with the problem, with the mafians, with the cabals. And this is why General Buhari started that. And this is why I encourage every Nigerian to support General Buhari. One is because we need a president who has enough influence. We need a president who has enough respect. Part of the problem President Goodluck Jonathan has been having is that he gives orders, and you know as much as I do, some of the ministers flout his orders, including his aides. But I'm telling you, if we have a president like General Muhammadu Buhari, with his high influence, with his high respect, it is not remained to be seen. You know why?
No, they'll tell you how you can president.
Okay, let me give you an instant. Let me give you an instant. With due respect to all the presidential candidates, I can tell you that all of them has been playing a role to the unity of APC. But I tell you, part of the reason APC has remained strong is because it has someone like General Muhammadu Buhari. As a political party, people with various interests, we have had situations where, you know, some people have to rise up in the party, in the meeting, in the national meeting, and say they want to challenge another, they want to fight. Once General Buhari is seated there, and he stands up and says, young man, sit down. At worst, he can say, young man, walk out. We respect him as a leader. We have that high respect for him beyond the party lines and within the party. And I think if we have somebody with that influence and that respect to assume the office of the president, he will give an order and people will obey. Even as close as I am to General Buhari, I can't imagine myself come to General Buhari and he said, Jasper, do this, and I will go out. I will wish that the ground open and I fall in down because I wouldn't know how to look at his face.
What do you say to those who, for instance now, Roland is saying, look, we should ask you, is GMB the future? And then you had Mr. Johnson who was saying, look, they needed the younger person to come on because, I mean, look at across the world, you have fresh ideas, new generation, and then he's been there, he's done that. It looks as if PDP has a template of defeating him whenever he contests.
Okay, let's look at the issue of age. I don't want to go to history. I'm not a historian. I'm not too good in history. But if you look at the world over, even in Africa, you see people who were even older than General Buhari, or who were at the same age, who have been able to make a difference, who has been able to rescue the country. Then for the young people, I'm a young person, I've told the young people, I said, as far as I'm concerned, in all fairness, there's nothing to hand over to us. This country is like you're carrying a keg of oil and you have spilled it and you want me to come and pack it. I think that this country has gone down, that if we bring somebody who is young, good, there are a lot of experienced young people, but my brother, the cabals and the mafias in this country that will not let anybody at that status perform, will overwhelm them, will bring them down, will make sure that corruption continues. That is why I said the only thing that for me General Buhari stands out, apart from the fact that he's not corrupt, he is not a materialistic person, one of the things that makes him stand out is that I know that he has a high influence, he has high fellowship, he has high respect. And you know, in leadership, this is what you need for people to queue behind you and toe the same path that you are doing without first of all challenging you and going in another direction.
And if he doesn't get a ticket?
Anyway, if General Buhari fairly does not get the ticket, a lot of people are saying he will form another party. Others are saying he will decamp. I'm wondering where he's decamping to. Look at General Buhari's history. General Buhari has always remained in the opposition. So I'm wondering whether they are thinking he will decamp to PDP or what. Or they think he will go and form
hasn't he done it before? Form a new separate...
At a point where he formed a party, he did not form the party because he wants to be president. From AMPP to CPC, it wasn't because there was a presidential primary. It was because there are issues of trust, and he felt, I want to remain myself, and I want to remain my disciplined self. I want to remain a man of integrity. He moved on and said, those who want to follow me, follow me. And you saw the bandwagon movement.